Hi everybody, I'm David with Bolivar Live and welcome to another Ask Me About Bolivar, where we dive into the history, events, and businesses. And we're actually going to start off this week with a business and go from there because spring break's coming up. We've got a lot of events coming up, and then we've got the summer months. And so I want people to know exactly what the businesses are down here, what they have to offer, and also a little bit of history around them, about them, and meet the owners. So today we're with Keith Zahar, owner of Gulf Coast Market, the big store. And remember, if the big store doesn't have it, chances are you really don't need it. And it's really like that, Keith, isn't it?
Well, I hope so. That's my goal. That's what we've been that's what we've been striving for, and the customers have kind of helped make that happen. So
Let's talk about, and we're going to make it through Ike, but let's start about it talking, Dan, and how you ended up down here.
well, that's this was Dan's idea. We were talking one day, and he said he was going to build a store down here, and I said, how big? And he told me, and I said, you think it'll work? He said, well, there's not one down there. I said, that's what I mean. And he said, well, no, I think it will. And so he proceeded to get it started, and started out about, I don't know, 13,000 square feet, and I was in the grocery business at the time. He was in building
Y'all worked
construction.
together at another
We did. We
business.
started out when we were kids. We worked at the Gerlands on Highland Avenue out there by Lamar, and we've known each other since I think I was 17. He was 19. He's about a year and a half older than me, and he was working on a beer truck, hauling beer in, and he was a hard worker. And so I thought, man, we need hard workers. So talked him into coming to work inside the store, and he came to work with us there at the store, and we've been friends ever since. And so anyway, and he was telling me about, building this store, and so he got it open, and I was down here talking to him, just a few days after he opened it up, and I said, man, this thing, you trying to do this by yourself? He goes, yeah. I said, man, that's tough. He asked me if I was willing to come help him, and I said, yeah. I said, think you can afford it? He said, I'll figure out how. And so I came down just a week or so after he got it open, and been here ever since. And so it wasn't easy. I think the only reason we made it, we were like that kid that never fell off a bicycle till somebody told him about gravity. Everybody said we wouldn't, and they were right, but somehow we did. We struggled through the first 2 years. We weren't able to pay all our bills, but we paid all the employees and paid the taxes, and we got past the rough part. But I want to tell you, in the wintertime, when you saw 3 cars go by, that was a fairy line. Back then, there wasn't very many people here at all.
That's where you stand out. You know all of them too, probably.
Yeah.
So it grew from there, and you expanded. How did you decide where you wanted to expand the areas?
Well, when Dan and I came from the grocery business, and so we knew the grocery business, but it didn't take us long at all. It didn't take us very much time at all to figure out that's not a grocery store. We started realizing the product mix and the way people bought things. Like, we don't do very much meat business. You would think that we do, but percentage-wise, we do less than half of what a normal grocery store does. But obviously, we do, real good and potato chips and bread, and
Right.
obviously we do, beer and some of those kind of items. Unfortunately, cigarettes and beer don't have a lot of markup in them,
Right.
and meat does.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, we've got a mix that's not good for profit.
Right.
So we've got to figure out, well, man, how do we
Build your profit
how
up.
do we build profit? We've got decent sales, so we we meandered our way through it and figured out how to make a little money out of it. But we never really were getting rich. But we were able to pay the bills and get the thing off the ground. And then we figured out we could sell general merchandise. And as time went along, customers were asking us for things. And anytime somebody asked us for something, we put it in and gave it a try.
Well, and I know whenever I had my problems with my blood sugar, and you said, hey, if there's something you need, let me know and I'll get it that you can eat, because there's just one of you, but there's a whole lot more people down here that are diabetics. And I know you've been good on, several people have made comments to me, even now, they ask you for something and you do everything you can to get it in the store.
There's two ways we decide what we're going to carry. The main way is if people ask us for stuff. The second way is we take we just added 100 new items to the store this week. Once a year or twice a year, we'll come in and pick the top 100 items that are moving, out of our warehouse, and we'll check to see if we've got them yet, and if we don't,
You'll put them in.
We'll work them in, and we'll delete the bottom, 100 items.
Okay.
Or we'll look through our warehouse, and if we haven't sold a case in a year,
it's time to get rid of it.
That the customers are tired of that item, or they just don't move anymore.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't sell 12 packages of one item in a year, unless it's a specialty item,
Yeah.
then it's time for it to go, and or less sometimes. But we've seen items that didn't move one. We'll mark them. Maybe you'll see buggies in stores, of all stores, where stuff's marked down and gone. That's what everybody does.
Yeah.
They just mark it down and get rid of it. It's a dead item. People are tired of it. And but what I was going to say was, we had to figure out other ways to make money. So we started working in gift shop items, general merchandise, and that stuff started selling real well. And there really wasn't much of that down here. And then one day, I told Dan, I think the kind of items that people are asking for, I think we can get from Ace Hardware or one of the hardware warehouses. And I don't know if you remember Dabney from Seaside Lumber, but he convinced me to go to Handy Hardware out of Houston. So I went over to Handy and talked to them, and we used Handy first. They've since gone out of business, but we used them and put in a couple of aisles of hardware, and took off, for a little grocery store. In fact, until they opened up Sherwin-Williams down here, we were number one in paint sales. And they told me, a lot of the hardware stores down told me, you can't sell paint. I didn't see any brick houses down here, so I thought, well,
you're gonna try.
I'm gonna try. Maybe I can't, but we sold quite a bit of paint the first few years. And in fact, PPG, at their annual meeting, they said, well, what have we learned from this? And they said, we don't have enough grocery stores. Because there's a little grocery store down there moving a lot of paint. Of course, the advantage was we weren't really competing against, a big gun like Sherwin-Williams. You just can't, you can't compete against a company like that. They have a massive network that they do a great job. I'm not gonna, but anyway, when we added hardware, Jeff Dyson out of Beaumont, who has M&D Supply, kind of took me under his wing and showed me his philosophy and how the hardware business worked. And I'll always appreciate what he did and his philosophy. And even though he didn't show me all the little details, he showed me.
Got you started.
He got me started, and that system works. If anybody goes to M&D Supply knows that system works, and so I just copied it. I copied it to work for our niche down here. You don't do what I do. Make this philosophy work for you. And so I did it, and boy, it worked. I mean, we do the same. I mean, we're not near as big as he is, but we work that kind of a system.
Everything's going good, and all of a sudden storm greets us named Ike. And you and I have talked about this several times. Devastating to Bolivar Peninsula, but sort of just washed through the big store. And I can remember pictures and the first time I came back down here. And now we're here, everything's has built up. Now we're back to a third of the houses that were a third of the houses that we had. And we need groceries, we need hardware, we need gas. How did you decide how you were going to build back after Ike? I know one time I made a comment, build it and they will come. And you looked at me like, yeah, but that sounds good. But when you're looking at no one down here and total devastation, it's a whole different ball game.
You know, that's another, there was no playbook after Ike. You know, you look at what happened across the United States and all these areas that were destroyed like we were, they didn't come back. You know, even Homestead, Florida's not back like it. You know, before, what was it? Whatever the name of the hurricane was, they hit Homestead. You know, Homestead still's not back where it was before it got destroyed. And you look at some of the areas in southern Florida, in southern Louisiana that got destroyed from those hurricanes like Katrina and Rita. They're still gone.
But we're back.
There's nothing. But we are. You're exactly right. And I looked at those areas, after they were destroyed, because my warehouse is in Baton Rouge. So I was very familiar with what was going on in Louisiana. And one thing I learned from watching that is after a hurricane, especially a devastating hurricane, the homeowners were waiting for the businesses and the businesses were waiting for the homeowners. Well,
who's going to make
neither one of them would come back.
Yeah.
Because they were
no one would take that.
No one would take that initiative. And there maybe, a few people would trickle in, but people wanted it back like it was, and it wasn't happening. And I realized after Ike, I have to come back. I have to put this store back. If this community is going to make it, I have to take the first step to make this thing come back. It's a hard step.
I was gonna say.
I mean, I got 65,000 square feet. There's not a house on the ground.
Yeah.
There's no one. The only people here are the people contractors working. You know, David's down there. He's feeding people out of a work trailer, and so is Tiki Bar Chris. And people are down here doing everything they can to keep people working and trying to help. But boy, I'll tell you, it's like being in a third world on an island somewhere that everybody's struggling to try to do what they can to try to make this thing work. And I can't, I'm not looking up. I had people that were employees before the storm, and they're down there trying to help, and then trying to live in RVs and trying to help get this thing together. And I still can't show my appreciation enough to what all they did to try to help make this.
Yeah, because the first thing you have to do is take bobcats and just more or less sweep the floor.
I had a friend from Philadelphia fly down, and he operated the bobcat for a week helping me. I had Charlene's son. He was working night shift for Williams, and he would come down during the day and help us. Yeah. I mean, I had people from all over that were coming down, and I say from all. I had several people come down and help us try to help get this store back together. I mean, besides the employees that were working here.
So how'd you decide? Because you built back your store probably the opposite direction it started. And so,
there's so many stories that go along. I can't tell you how blessed I am to make this thing happen. But, LeBlanc's in Louisiana gave me some equipment. Specs Liquor sold me some equipment out of some stores they had. Just practically gave it to me. It didn't cost much at all. Blake helped me get lined up with them and got them to sell it to me. Excuse me, cheap. And then other companies we were lined up with. So what we did, the least damaged area in the store was where hardware is now. So we put a wall up, and we had a walk-in cooler from Specs. So we put that up. We were able to carry some refrigerated items. We bought a few, went down to Lowe's, bought a few freezers, just chest type freezers where we carry a little bit of frozen stuff. And we took half of that hardware section and put in like a big convenience store. And the other half we put in hardware.
Because that's what they needed down here to
Yeah,
rebuild.
exactly right. That's what they needed, and I needed sales. We put that in probably early January. In the meantime, we were rebuilding the grocery side, which was the hardest part to rebuild. You got to get in refrigeration, you've got to get in electrical, so during that we got to get in shelving. You've got to rebuild that side, and that's the hardest part to get done. So that's what we did. We rebuilt that side. Finally got it open. We actually opened it on our anniversary, which was May 17th, 1986. We reopened it again, 2009, May 17th, 2000. I was happy to be able to get the whole store reopened, coming in the front door on that day.
And haven't looked back since.
Try not to. No, I don't want to have to do that again. But it was slow. I'm telling you, my friends were, all those people. Well, I say a lot of people back then. Man, that guy's crazy. There ain't no way he can't make it. They're probably right, but
the odds.
The odds are really against us. There wasn't a town here, but we had also, what they fail to realize is Dan and I made it through just as slow a period when we opened up.
Yeah.
Of course, I didn't have 65,000 square foot to deal with, but we got it open through some pretty tough periods, and as time went on, it got a little bit busier, and we're back to what it was in 2008. When the hurricane hit. So we're surviving now. Gift shop's doing real well. Hardware's doing well. It's a little bit tougher now that the recession, is starting to affect everybody, and COVID's over, so money's starting to go in different directions.
Let's talk about COVID real quick. I can remember you coming in when it all happened, because we were sort of in a panic down here. We didn't know it was going to be the perfect storm. And I can remember some of our meetings, and food starting to get hard to find. And something caught my attention. You said, David, I may not have Del Monte green beans, but I'm going to have green beans. And I may not have a name brand toilet paper, but I'm going to have toilet paper. And I may not have such and such, but I'm going to have another brand of it. And once we got into the COVID deal and grocery store shelves were empty, I had some friends that have houses down here that live in Katy and Houston, and I said, you coming down again this week? They said, we have to. I said, why do you have to come down this weekend? Because we have to go shop the big store. Because of the items that you had, they couldn't find it in Houston. And I think a lot of people, in my opinion, because we were busy as heck, no one could go anywhere. They were renting houses, the beach was open. And I don't know it, but I imagine a lot of people came down here and bought groceries. Usually when you leave, you make sure the cooler's empty and the car's, packed. But I think a lot of people, or did you see a lot of people buying groceries down here, taking them back?
Oh, Lord, yes.
Because
unbelievable.
It's like you carry boar heads. And that's a name brand that a lot of people like. And Brian said, I haven't been able to find that in one of the stores up here in probably 6-8 months. I go down to Keith's store. Every time I go in there, he has exactly what we want. He said, we're buying $200 and $300 and $400 and $500 worth of groceries and toting it back. And I was just wondering if that's what you saw.
Well, I had an idea that, because you got to remember, I'm an independent guy. I don't have to go up the chain of executives to make a decision.
You don't have to buy from a specific place either, do you?
I buy from a bunch of different people. Well, I was watching the news, and I saw where they canceled the rodeo. And I thought, that means Cisco's hung with all that meat because they have to supply the rodeo. So the next day was the day my Cisco rep came in, and I said, what are y'all going to do with all that meat? He goes, oh, man, we don't know. We're thinking about sending it back to Iowa. And I said, you still got it in the warehouse? And he said, yeah. I said, look, I want 3 pallets of that chicken. I want 4 pallets of that hamburger meat. And I just went off all this, and my meat man's looking at me. He goes, oh, wow. Because we couldn't get, man,
You couldn't get it.
They're getting allocated out of our warehouse. We're getting, and they're buying it as fast as we can get it in the meat counter.
Yeah.
Next day, here come half a truck full of Cisco meat. And I'd also said, you got any toilet paper? He goes, yeah. I said, fill the rest of the truck up with toilet paper.
And it was commercial toilet paper.
Well, no, I mean,
but it was toilet paper.
It was just single rolls, but at least it was wrapped.
Yeah.
It wasn't, just, I saw some of those too, but it wasn't just wrapped. So he sent the whole Cisco truck to me full of Cisco items.
Toilet paper and beef.
And by the next week, I got with him and I said, what else you got? Oh, they had cleaner, they had, but it didn't take long for people to figure out that they could get a lot of that stuff from Cisco. Because next thing you know, Cisco's running out.
Yeah.
Yeah. But see, they couldn't sell the restaurants, so they were
all that.
Yeah, they were looking for anybody.
Yeah.
And I guess once they figured out that they couldn't sell the restaurants, the next thing they started calling on
grocery
stores, and they were getting rid of that. They were selling stuff to the grocery stores.
You do a lot in the community. Give back
I enjoy it.
a whole lot in the community. And I can remember when I started some of our conversations, and I've learned a lot from you because I used to just think a week out, 5 days out, or a week out. Now I'm looking at 6 months and a year and 2 years. But what's your philosophy on the community and what you can do for the community?
Oh, well, years ago I read this book called The Richest Man in Town. And what this guy did, he wanted to find out if there was a common denominator in all these guys who were the richest men in all the big cities. And one of the things that he asked them, and they were all in unison about, was what was their favorite town. And they all said their hometown. And I thought about that, and I thought, you know what, I know exactly what they mean. Because that's the people you're around, that's the people you care about, that's the people you want to do things for. And because that's the people you come face to face with. That's the people you know their children, you know their families.
You've watched them grow up.
Yeah, you watch them grow up, and you watch their kids grow. Well, now that you get to my age, you watch their grandkids grow up. And you want it. It's not like it's not a go. Oh, I'm tired of doing. Oh, they asking me for this. No, you enjoy doing it. You enjoy watching, the fruits of what you've done, be able to do something for somebody else and watch. And sometimes you can't go to all the events, but
you're still giving.
You got to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And you enjoy being a part of it.
Where do you see the big store in 10, 15 years?
I hope I'm here to see it in 10 or 15.
So do I.
No, But no, I think, bar a storm. I think we're fine.
What about the community in 10 or 15 years?
Well,
we've gone through a growth spurt, but it's slowing down now.
And that's what happens. I've seen that happen maybe 3 or 4 times
here
since I've been here. They'll, in the early '80s, they moved from beach cabins to beach homes, and then there was a spurt, and then the oil boom died, and everybody was, we had that, where, you couldn't, they had financed all those beach houses, and then they couldn't sell them, and that's the only time I ever actually saw where the prices of beach houses actually fell. I've seen them where they didn't go up anymore, but that's the only time I saw them where they actually fell. And then, and I think we're in in a point right now where interest rates are so high that people aren't purchasing them. Now, cash people are still paying cash for beach houses, but I think the interest rate right now is holding people from buying. But I see that easing pretty soon, and I think people will start purchasing more. I don't know that we're going to see that big growth like we saw in the past,
Oh, it was
5 years.
like I said.
There's a lot, but when the economy picks up, and like we've seen lately, people are traveling. Um, People are going to Central Texas.
They're getting out.
Yeah, there's just more areas to go to. COVID caused people to go to the coast.
Yeah.
People felt like it was a safer place to be, the breeze.
I've said that's for us, and I can remember on, I believe, March 14th or 18th when they started shutting everything down. Uh, we we actually had TV commercials scheduled and didn't even know it. And everyone was in a panic down here. And then all of a sudden the doors opened up, and they were open for about 2.5 years. 2 years, I know good.
It was a boom for the grocery business nationwide.
Was it?
Yeah, it was.
If you could get it.
If you had product to sell,
Yeah.
you could make some money.
Because people weren't going out to eat, they were eating at home.
Everybody in the grocery business, Walmart included, whenever they said, when the politicians came online, said, all right, the restaurant business handles 50% of all the food business in the United States. So when they shut down the restaurant business, everybody in the grocery business just kind of look at one another. We can handle this.
Yeah.
And then when politicians got on TV and said, all right, go to the store and buy 3 weeks supply, everybody's looking at one another. You come buy all you want. The shelves, the shelves are going to be empty, but nobody said anything, and everybody's going, all right, we'll do the best we can, but we're not going to turn down the business, but there's nothing going to be here. And the people in that business are kind of going, what kind of idiots are running this? Why would say?
Yeah.
Of course, I guess they just didn't know. I guess they just thought it was magically going to appear on the shelves, But everybody learned pretty quick that
get it while you can.
Yeah, well, they don't have the sharpest people in Washington.
If there's one thing, we're going to wind this up for now. If there's one thing you wanted people to know about the big store, what would it be?
Well, we're here to serve you, and we don't always do everything perfect, but I would like to think that we can correct anything that we've ever done wrong. I know we've always tried to have good people, and over the years, I think we've had some great people. Our gift shop is
Shelley.
Shelley, one of the bright spots of our store and hardware, and of course, our meat department and grocery department are just.
I was going to say,
I've always been really proud of the job that those guys do.
Let's give some recognition.
And produce, Pedro, he's just a staple there.
Let's give some recognition real quick. How long's Benji been at the big store?
Man, he started when he was 16 years old. He's
25 years?
I don't know. I don't know. He started in the. He actually started. He's from Winnie. He started in the Winnie store, so that was maybe 1990.
Okay.
Maybe before.
Wendy.
Well, she started when she was 16 years old.
And
I'm not going to say how old she is.
No, I won't walk in this store if you say
she's
that.
She's well over 30 years. I'm not sure if it's 35 yet.
You've got, well, we've got to say Joe, because Joe came on here in the last couple years, but he's sure, I don't know what you want to call
it.
There's
several people there. Jones been there years, and Ruben's been there since he was 16, and
Didn't
been there
Ruben
since he was 16. And
Ruben started help build the store, didn't he? Was he one of the...
that's how we got Pedro and Ruben. There was a guy named Ricky too, and we were pouring a slab out back, and when I needed some people to tie steel, and Dan shows up with a truckload of guys, and Ruben and Pedro and Ricky
and they're still there today.
Ricky's not. Ricky left after Hurricane Ike. He's working at a store in China now, but Ruben and Pedro, and I think maybe Oscar. Of course, Oscar's gone now too. I don't know if Oscar. No, I think Oscar
And
lives in
then Tim
Bolivar.
upstairs has been with you for a long time too, hasn't he?
Oh, I've known Tim since he was 12 years old. We've been
Yeah,
friends since I were teenagers.
yeah. And I've seen that at some of the restaurants around here, like Brandy up at Stingery, and some of them up there, they've been there since
Yeah,
for years and years. And
yeah, a
so,
long time.
well,
When I first moved here, Dan and I were down in Bolivar, and I think we were talking to Tinker, and the Strimple sisters were in. I don't know if they were twins. They were in the store, and I don't know if it was me or Dan, but they were talking about, tired of these tours, or something. Something was said. So one of us looked at the ladies, goes, "Well, how long do you have to live here to be a local?" I mean, without missing a beat. She spun around and said, "5th generation." And I thought, well, she made a heck of a point. She wasn't going to bend on what it took to be a local. But I think the issue is, when you're young, and you're having a good time, I think it's all the same. When you get a little bit older, you get a little bit tireder of everything going on, and then when you get old, you just don't want to deal with all the confusion. It doesn't really have anything to do with tourism. You're just tired of the confusion. So but all these tourists, that's what affords us all these luxuries over there. Whatever we get,
right.
We get because of it. And it takes both. We have to have.
And it's, we've seen it come, and we're seeing it, head count may be down a little bit now. We've opened, last March we opened twice as many seating capacity for the restaurants. If you wanted to go out and eat, they opened up a couple new businesses down here. Did that affect your business any when we doubled our seating capacity down here on restaurants? Or do you think we grew enough?
I don't know that. Since September is the first time I've had any, leveling effect in business. Up the past several years, we've had an increase in business.
And we've had a lot more people down here too.
Yeah, 23 but September, and I've looked across county-wide sales tax records. Galveston County has had, sales tax revenues have been down across the county a little bit. So, I think it's just the economy, in my opinion, nationwide.
Yeah. Well, Keith, thanks for joining us, and definitely thanks for everything you do in the community. And you are a big part of Team Bolivar and what we've been able to do over the years. If you're coming down, whether it's for a weekend getaway, week-long vacation, don't worry. You could come down here without a suitcase, and you can go to the big store and get the food you need. You can get the clothes you need. You can get the toothpaste, the fishing rods. More or less, if you lost your luggage on a plane, you can go to the big store and replace it, plus some. So the big store is located in the middle of Crystal Beach, Texas, 2385, I believe 2385 Highway 87. You can visit them on their website at www.thebigstore.us, and they sponsor all of our morning feeds here on Bolivar Live, so I thank you for that. So, well, I'm going to head on out and go up and get some chicken at the deli, because that's the best chicken there is.
It's good chicken.
Good chicken. Until next time, I'm David with Bolivar Live. Y'all have a great day, great week. Come see us. God bless, and bye-bye. The Big Store, located at 2385 Highway 87 in Crystal Beach, Texas, on Bolivar Peninsula. If you're on Bolivar Peninsula and you need anything, stop by the Big Store, where you'll be greeted by a staff of smiling faces and a staff that's eager to help you find what you're looking for. The Big Store is a fully stocked grocery store with fresh fruits and vegetables, meat department with hand-cut steaks, canned goods, dairy products, frozen foods, and beer and wine. The Big Store is also home to a gift shop, camping and fishing supplies, RV supplies, Tools and hardware and home goods, all under one roof. The Bolivar Peninsula Superstore, like they say, if the big store doesn't have it, chances are you really don't need it. For more information on the big store and their weekly sales ad, please visit www.thebigstore.us.